Welcome to my channel. Have you ever wanted to talk in English with your friends, but didn't know how to begin? You hear others speak. You smile, but you stay quiet. What if I told you? You don't need to wait. You can start small and still talk big. In this video, I'll show you exactly how I did it. I'll tell you real stories, real steps, and real struggles. You don't need 1,000 words. You don't need perfect grammar. You just need one thing, a friend and a small sentence. So stay with me, because your English story with friends could begin today. Chapter 1. The day I said hello. First, it was a hot afternoon. I remember that clearly. The sun was strong and I had just finished my class. I was walking down the road, holding my books, thinking about grammar and homework. My English class was okay, but I still didn't speak much. I understood some words. I could read a little. But speaking? That felt impossible. I had never started a conversation in English before, not even one word to a friend. That day, I saw a classmate walking in front of me. His name was Samir. We had been in the same class for months, maybe longer. We often sat near each other. We listened to the same teacher. We even laughed at the same jokes in class. But we never spoke in English, not once. We always used our own language. It felt easy. It felt safe. But that afternoon, something inside me said, try. Just one word. Just one. Hello. My heart started beating faster. My hands were sweating. I walked a little faster until I was beside him. He looked at me and smiled. That gave me a little courage. I opened my mouth and the word came out. Not loud, not perfect, just soft and simple. I said, hello. He looked surprised for a second. Then he said, hello, with a big smile. His voice was warm, not perfect, but friendly. And in that moment, I felt something big. I had spoken English, for the first time, with a friend. We kept walking. There was silence. Then I tried again. I said, how are you? I was scared he might laugh, but he didn't. He answered, I am fine. And you? I smiled. I am good, I said. Just like that, we had a real English conversation. Not long, not perfect, but real. That small moment stayed in my heart. It was the first time I started a conversation. It was the first time I felt the power of one small word. Hello. After that day, things changed. Samir and I started using more English together. At first, just greetings. Good morning. How was your day? See you tomorrow. Slowly, we added more. Did you watch the movie? What's your favorite subject? And when we didn't know a word, we helped each other. We laughed at mistakes. We learned together. I realized something very important that day. Speaking English doesn't start with big words or long talks. It starts with one word, one smile, one brave moment. That first hello opened a door, a small door, but behind that door was a big world, a world of confidence, friendship, and growth. That first step gave me courage to take the next, to say more, to ask more, to connect more. Sometimes people wait for the right time to speak. They think they need to study more, learn more, feel more ready. But I want to tell you something from my heart. The right time is now. You don't need to be ready. You just need to be brave, for one word. If you feel shy, I understand. I was shy too. If you're scared of mistakes, I understand. I was scared too. But your English journey doesn't start with perfection. It starts with trying. Maybe today you can say hello to someone in English. A friend, a classmate, a neighbor. Just one word. That one small word can grow into something big. Because that's what happened to me, and it can happen to you. Are you ready for your first hello? Chapter 2. How Small Conversations Made Me Brave. After that first hello, something inside me changed. I wasn't fluent. I wasn't confident. But I had a tiny spark. A voice inside me whispered, "You can speak," and I wanted to speak again. I didn't dream of long speeches or deep talks. I just wanted to say a few more words, to start a habit. The next day at school, I saw Samir again. We smiled. I said, "Hi." He said, "Hello." I asked, "How are you?" He answered, "I am good." Then he asked me back. I said, "I am good too." It was a small exchange, just seconds, but it made me feel proud. I had spoken English again. From that day, I started using small sentences with friends. I didn't wait for big conversations. I asked things like, "Did you eat? Where are you going? What did you do yesterday?" They were easy questions. I had learned them in class, but now I was using them in real life, with real people. That made a big difference. At first, my friends were surprised. "You're speaking English?" they asked. I smiled and said, "Just trying." Some of them joined me. Some didn't. But I didn't stop. I used English when I could. I made a goal, one small English conversation every day. Sometimes it was one sentence, sometimes two, sometimes just a question. But every small chat gave me something, a little more courage. I remember one special moment. It was during lunch break. I was sitting with my friends. We were eating and talking. Suddenly, I made a joke in English. It was simple. I said, "This rice is running away. It doesn't want to be eaten." Everyone laughed. It was not the best joke, but it made people smile. And that laugh, it gave me something big. For the first time, I felt like I truly belonged. I wasn't just learning English. I was living in it. My English was not perfect, but it was real. It was part of my voice now. That moment stayed in my heart. I realized English is not only for grammar and exams, it's for fun, for laughter, for friendship. From that day, I started enjoying small conversations. I didn't feel nervous anymore when I said, "Good morning." I felt happy. I didn't hide when someone asked me a question in English. I tried to answer. Even if I made mistakes, I kept going. I also started listening more. When my friends used English words, I noticed them. I repeated them later. I wrote them in a notebook. Lunch break, classroom, homework, bottle, funny. These words became part of my daily life. Not because I studied them in a book, but because I used them in real conversations. Slowly, these tiny chats became my practice ground. They were not lessons. but they were powerful. A "how are you" in the morning, a "what's up" after school, a "see you tomorrow" before going home. These small moments built my confidence brick by brick. I still made mistakes. I still forgot words, but I didn't feel ashamed anymore. My friends helped me. They smiled. They listened. They answered. And that made all the difference. Sometimes my friends spoke in our own language, but I always tried to answer in English. I told them, "Help me practice." They laughed. "Okay," they said. "Let's try." And we did, every day. Now when I look back, I see how important those small conversations were. They didn't feel big at the time, but they were. They gave me the courage to speak in class, to speak at work, to speak with strangers, all from saying things like, "Did you eat?" or "What did you do today?" So if you are watching this and thinking, "My English is too small," please remember this. Small English is still English. Every little sentence you say is a step forward. Say good morning. Say nice to meet you. Say, I'm learning English. These are not just words. They are seeds. And every time you speak, you water them. They grow. You grow. You don't need long talks to be brave. You just need small moments, spoken with heart. Because that's how I became brave. Not in one big day, but in many small ones. Chapter 3: Mistakes I Made and Why They Helped Me Speak Better. In the beginning, every time I opened my mouth to speak English, I was afraid. Not afraid of the words, but afraid of making a mistake. What if I say the wrong thing? What if my friend laughs? What if I sound stupid? These questions lived in my head every day. I wanted to speak English, but I also wanted to hide. That fear was strong. But I learned something important. Mistakes are not enemies. They are teachers. And I want to tell you how I learned that. One day at school, I was sitting with my friend Raza. We were eating snacks and talking about our favorite subjects. I wanted to say, "I like history," but instead I said, "I like hysteric." He looked at me for a second, confused. Then he laughed, not in a mean way, just a small laugh, and said, "You mean history?" I looked down. I felt my face turn red. I nodded and said, "Yes, history." He smiled and said, "Don't worry. Hysteric is funny, but history is better for school." And we laughed together. That was the first time I made a mistake, and someone corrected me kindly. He didn't make me feel small. He didn't say, "Your English is bad." He just helped me, and I felt something new, thankful. After that, I started noticing how often I mixed up words. I said kitchen instead of chicken. I said borrow me instead of lend me. I said I very like instead of I really like. And my friends helped me, not with books, not with rules, just with kindness. Once, I told my friend Fatima, "I am boring today." She looked at me with wide eyes. "You are boring?" she said. Then we both laughed. "I think you mean I am bored," she said. And from that day, I never forgot the difference. These mistakes, as funny as they were, became little lessons. Lessons I never got in class. Real lessons from real life. Because when you feel something, A laugh, a little embarrassment, a warm smile, you remember better. At first, I thought I had to speak perfectly. I thought I had to know every word. But now I know that speaking is not about perfection. It's about connection. And connection comes from trying, even when you make mistakes. One afternoon, I was talking with my friend Ahmed. We were walking home from school. I tried to tell him about a new movie. I said, "The film is so funny. I was crying." He looked confused. "Crying? Why?" I said, "Because it was very laughable." He paused, then said, "Ah, you mean it was hilarious? You cried from laughing?" I laughed and nodded. "Yes, that. He didn't laugh at me. He laughed with me. And that's the difference. That's what good friends do. They don't correct to hurt. They correct to help." The more I spoke, the more mistakes I made. And the more mistakes I made, the more I learned. I started writing them down. Funny sentences, wrong words. I called it my mistake diary. Not to feel bad, but to remember and grow. I looked at those pages and smiled because every mistake meant I had spoken. I had tried. I had learned. My teachers helped me too. But my friends, my everyday friends, they were my best teachers. Not because they knew everything, but because they cared. Because they listened. Because they made me feel safe to try. You don't need fluent friends to practice. You need kind ones. You need someone who smiles when you speak, who waits when you forget a word, who helps you when you're stuck. That kind of friend is gold. So if you're watching this and thinking, "I'm scared to make mistakes," I understand you. I was you. But here's the truth. You cannot grow without mistakes. You cannot speak without errors. You cannot learn if you never try. Speak anyway. Mix up the words. Say the wrong thing. Say it again. Let your friend help you. Laugh together. Learn together. Because every time you speak, you get better. Even with mistakes. Especially with mistakes. And one day, you'll look back and smile, just like I do. Because those little mistakes, they made me brave. They made me better. They made me speak. Chapter 4: Playing English Games with Friends. Sometimes, learning English feels hard. The rules, the grammar, the spelling, it can all feel too serious. That's how I felt in the beginning. I was always worried. Am I saying it right? Is my grammar correct? Should I use do or does? My head was full, but my mouth stayed quiet. Then one day, everything changed. Not in class, not during homework. It changed on a weekend, with a game. I remember it clearly. I was at my friend Fatima's house. A few of our classmates were there too. We were all trying to practice English, but no one wanted to do grammar exercises. Someone said, "Let's play a game." And that was the start of something special. We played a simple game called 20 questions. One person thinks of something, like a fruit, and the others ask yes or no questions to guess it. Fatima said, "I have a word." You ask. I was excited and nervous. I asked, "Is it a thing?" She said, "Yes." Another friend asked, "Is it food?" "Yes." We kept going. I asked, "Is it sweet?" She nodded. "Is it yellow?" "Yes." My heart started beating faster. I smiled and said, "Is it a banana?" She shouted, "Yes." Everyone clapped. And for the first time in my life, I won a game in English. I can't explain the feeling. It wasn't just about guessing the word. It was the joy of understanding, the joy of speaking, the joy of playing in a new language. That small win gave me something big: confidence. After that, we started playing English games more often. We made it a habit. Every week, one of us would bring a new idea. We played word-guessing games, spelling races, and even tongue twisters. Oh, the tongue twisters. I still laugh when I think about them. One time, we tried to say, "She sells seashells by the seashore." We all got stuck. Our tongues twisted, our words jumped around, and we ended up laughing so hard we had tears in our eyes. But guess what? After 10 minutes, we all could say it. Slowly, carefully, together. I learned something important that day. Laughter helps learning. When you're having fun, you're not afraid. You're not shy. You don't care about mistakes. You just speak. And speaking is how you grow. Games gave us freedom. We didn't worry about exams or scores. We didn't think, "Is this correct?" We just talked. We guessed, we tried, and we laughed. One of our favorite games was Describe the Word. One person thinks of a word and gives clues in English. For example, if the word was umbrella, the person might say, "You use it when it rains. It keeps you dry. It has a handle." We had to guess the word. At first, we used very simple words: cat, apple, chair. But soon we got better. We used words like library, delicious, hungry, movie. And with every round, our vocabulary grew. Even my friend Samir, who was always quiet, started talking more during games. He told me later, "I don't feel nervous when we play. I just enjoy." And that's the secret. Enjoyment makes everything easier. We even made our own flashcards. One side had a picture, the other side had the word. We mixed them up and tried to guess the words quickly. It felt like a game, but it was learning too. I started noticing something beautiful. The words I used in games started coming out in real conversations. I'd say, "I'm hungry" before lunch. I'd say, "delicious" when eating a sweet mango. I'd say library when going to study. These words stayed with me, not because I studied them, but because I played with them. That's when I understood. Games are not just for fun. They're powerful tools. They teach you without pressure. They help you practice without fear. They turn learning into laughter. So if you're learning English, don't only read books. Don't only memorize lists. Play, laugh, talk. Try 20 questions with a friend. Try a tongue twister. Guess a word. Make it fun. And remember, your friend doesn't need to be fluent. You don't need a teacher. You just need a good heart, a small game, and the courage to try. Because when learning feels like play, your English will grow faster than ever. And who knows, maybe your next laugh will come from a word you never thought you could say, just like mine did. Chapter 5. Talking about real life in English. At first, I only spoke simple English. How are you? I like mangoes. Where is the book? These were safe words, easy sentences. They helped me build confidence. but deep down, I wanted more. I didn't just want to speak, I wanted to express. I wanted to talk about real life, my family, my dreams, my problems, my heart. One evening after class, I was walking home with my friend Samir. The road was quiet. The air was soft. We had just finished playing an English game in school. We were laughing, relaxed. And then, without planning it, I said, "My father is sick." Samir looked at me. He didn't say anything for a second. Then he said, "I'm sorry. Is he okay now?" I nodded slowly. A little better. But I feel sad. That moment felt different. I wasn't just saying practice words. I was speaking from my life. I was telling the truth. And I was using English to do it. Samir listened. Carefully. Gently. Then he said, "I understand. My uncle was sick last year. It's hard." We kept walking. We spoke quietly, in English, slowly, honestly. That small conversation changed something inside me. It wasn't about perfect grammar. It wasn't about the right tense. It was about connection. I spoke, and he understood. That's what language is for. After that day, I started speaking more about my real life, with friends in English. It wasn't fast, it wasn't easy, but it was real. I talked about school. I don't like math. I have a test tomorrow. I talked about food. My mother made biryani. I love spicy snacks. I talked about my family. My brother is younger than me. My sister lives in Lahore. Each sentence helped me feel stronger, not just in English, but in myself. My friends listened. They asked questions, and sometimes they shared too. We were building something together. Trust. And with that trust, my words grew. One night, something very special happened. I will never forget it. It was late, maybe 11 p.m. My friend Fatima and I were chatting online. She said, "Are you sleepy?" I said, "A little." Then she asked, "Why do you look sad in class today?" I paused. I didn't know if I should say. But then I typed slowly. "I feel lonely sometimes. My friends are busy. My house is quiet. I miss my grandmother. She died last year." There was silence. Then I saw her message. "I'm so sorry. Thank you for telling me." She didn't correct my grammar. She didn't send a smiley face. She just said something real. "I lost my grandfather, too. I understand. It's hard." My eyes filled with tears, but not sad ones, warm ones. I felt heard, I felt seen, and I felt proud. I had said something true, in English, and someone understood. That moment changed how I saw English. It was not just a subject. It was my voice. It was my bridge to another heart. That conversation became a memory I still hold close, not because of the words I used, but because of the feeling it gave me. After that, I started writing small journal entries in English. I wrote things like, "Today I was happy. I feel tired. My teacher was kind today." I didn't use big words, but I used real ones. My English wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and it was enough. At school, when a classmate looked sad, I asked, Are you okay? When someone shared good news, I said, I'm happy for you. When I didn't understand something, I said, can you explain again? These were not book sentences. These were human ones. My friends started doing the same. Sometimes they made mistakes. Sometimes I did. But we always listened. We always tried. We were learning English, but we were also learning each other. So if you are watching this and you think, my English is too small to talk about feelings, please remember this. Your words don't need to be big. They need to be honest. That's enough. That's powerful. Talk about your day. Talk about your family. Talk about what you like and what you don't. Say, I feel happy. Say, I miss my friend. Say, I want to be better. Say it in English. Say it in your voice. Because the day you speak about real life is the day your English becomes real too. And that day will stay with you forever. Chapter 6. From One Friend to the World. Sometimes, one small moment changes everything. For me, it started with a quiet hello to one friend. That one word opened a door I never thought I could walk through. And now, as I look back, I see how that single step became a journey, from one friend to the world. It didn't happen fast. It didn't happen in a big city or in a fancy school. It happened slowly in my small town with people I already knew, friends from class, friends from my neighborhood, friends who were not perfect in English, but who were kind, patient, and ready to try. That small hello turned into short conversations. Those short conversations turned into deeper talks, and those deeper talks made me feel strong. Little by little, my voice stopped shaking. My heart stopped running. My words started flowing. One day, my friend Samir came running to me after school. He said, Ronnie, there's a man at the bookstore. He's from Canada. He's asking something, but no one understands him. Come, help. I was shocked. Me? Help someone? In English? My legs felt heavy, but my heart said, go. So I followed Samir to the bookstore. A tall man stood near the counter, holding a small paper in his hand. He looked confused but calm. When he saw me, he smiled and said, Excuse me, I'm looking for a book on Indian history. Do you know if they have it? For a second, I forgot everything. But then I took a deep breath. I said, Yes, I think they do. Follow me. I led him to a shelf in the corner. I showed him a book. This is about India's past. It has good pictures and easy words. He looked at the book and smiled. Perfect, he said. Thank you so much, I said. You are welcome. He left with the book, and I stood there, still. Samir looked at me and said, You did it. I nodded. I had spoken. I had helped. I had used the English I once feared, and in that small moment I felt something big. I felt like the world had opened its arms to me. That's when I understood. Speaking with one friend gave me the courage to speak with anyone. That small friendship was not small at all. It was a bridge that took me from fear to freedom, from silence to speech. I started talking to more people. I asked questions in class. I joined a small English group at the library. I met two girls from a nearby city who also wanted to improve their English. We made a WhatsApp group. Every evening, we sent one voice message. What did you do today? What is your favorite food? What makes you happy? Simple questions. Real answers. Shared in English. These small connections became my training ground. They made my voice stronger. They made my confidence grow. Now, when I see someone looking shy, I smile first. I say, hello. Want to talk in English? Because I know how it feels to wait, to want to speak but be scared. I know how one friend can change everything. Sometimes we think we need a big class or a native speaker or a perfect lesson. But I learned this. What you really need is one friend who listens. One friend who says, try. One friend who speaks with you, not at you. That friend becomes your mirror, your coach, your courage. So if you're watching this and thinking, I don't have many friends who speak English, start with one. Maybe it's your cousin. Maybe it's your classmate. Maybe it's someone online who is also learning. Ask them, can we talk in English? Not for practice, but for connection. Because friendship is the bridge, and English is the step. And that one step could lead you to the world.